Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 342 based on novel. So let's start. This voice seemed to come from the world itself and was ethereal. It seemed to come from her ears but also from far away. However, listening to it carefully, it came from her mind. It was a very simple word and very calm voice, but when it landed in Shu Yun's mind, it caused her body to tremble. It was as if the world around her had collapsed and formed a law of unimaginably thin threads that wrapped around her. Shu Yun's body, origin soul, and origin energy all stopped at this moment. Even her mind was frozen, still retaining her previous thoughts. Wang Lin's figure appeared before Shu Yun. Shu Yun, who was sitting there, was very alluring, with her beautiful body hidden by her clothes. There was a fragrance coming from her body. Her expression still retained her previous determination. Wang Lin took the black pill from Shu Yun's hand and carefully looked at it. The color of this pill was like the source of darkness in the world. Just one look at it would suck your mind in. What a strange pill. Wang Lin muttered as his divine sense spread across pill, and he began to calculate. Wang Lin's knowledge in alchemy was far weaker than his skill in restrictions, but his cultivation level was as high as the heavens, so his divine sense was able to analyze the structure of the pill. However, a majority of them were not things he understood, and more importantly, he felt soul fluctuations inside the pill. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the pill once more. He was able to determine what he felt wasn't wrong, and there were indeed soul fluctuations inside. Although the soul wasn't very strong, it was tough. Closing his eyes, Wang Lin had a feeling he wasn't holding a pill, but the soul of a fierce beast. This was the soul of an ape, and it was extremely tyrannical. It frantically struggled in his hand, but there were too many seals on it for it to escape. After he opened his eyes, the illusion disappeared. Wang Lin placed the pill back in Shu Yun's fingers before taking a few steps back and pointing forward. The invisible threads around Shu Yun quickly disappeared and her body trembled before returning to normal. For her, it felt as if only an instant had passed. Wang Lin's cultivation level was far above hers, so she couldn't even detect the abnormality caused by the stop spell. She retained her previous action and swallowed the pill with a determined gaze. Wang Lin stood behind her and calmly observed. Shu Yun didn't notice that there was a person behind her. After swallowing the pill, Shu Yun's face turned red and revealed a hint of pain. Fragrant sweat appeared on her forehead and soon, her clothes were soaked in sweat and clung to her body. From the back, Wang Lin could clearly see the beautiful curves of the woman before him. Shu Yun's face became even more red. Her eyes were closed and she could clearly feel a fire burning in her body. This flame burned her origin soul, and a golden, black-eyed ape appeared in her origin soul. This golden, black-eyed ape was huge and fierce. It let out a roar and charged at her origin soul. Shu Yun's mind was also filled with flames. Her origin soul was already injured from before, and the flames were very painful, but she didn't retreat. She began a battle with the golden, black-eyed ape. Her mind was like a battleground, and she began a life and death battle with the ape. The ape roared, seeming to want to tear her origin soul and flesh apart so it could escape and not have to withstand the burning flames. However, Shu Yun's origin soul clinged onto the black ape. While the flames burned her, they were also refining the black ape. She wasn't willing to give up until she refined the black ape. However, the black ape was very powerful, and it was being refined slower than the rate Shu Yun's origin soul was burning. This caused Shu Yun's origin soul to retreat, and her face became even more red as she trembled. When taking the soul-parting death pill, one would walk the line of life and death. Shu Yun knew this very well. If not for the fact that she was anxious to make a breakthrough in order to better help her teacher, she wouldn't have swallowed this pill so easily. Her teacher had helped her greatly, so she was willing to do whatever it took for her teacher. Her origin soul was pushed to the edge by the ape, which only had a small portion of its body refined. It pounced at Shu Yun and was going to tear her origin soul to shreds. Just at this moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand. He wanted to carefully observe the effect of this pill. If Shu Yun died, he wouldn't have a chance to observe. Forget it, I'll gift this little girl a fortune. Wang Lin shook his head as he pointed to between Shu Yun's eyebrows. Wang Lin's divine sense directly entered Shu Yun's mind. In Shu Yun's mind, her origin soul continued to retreat, and she was filled with despair. The ape closed in, and just as it pounced, a white figure entered. She couldn't clearly see the white figure, she only saw white hair fluttering. She didn't have time to be shocked at how this white-haired man had appeared inside her mind. Her origin soul trembled as she stared ahead in disbelief. She saw that after the white figure appeared, he casually pointed with his finger and the ape was forced back, screaming. Popping sounds came from the ape before its body collapsed and was refined like crazy by the surrounding flames. Shu Yun was startled. The grace of that finger shocked her greatly. She couldn't describe that finger, it felt like the finger was the only thing in her mind at that moment. It was so powerful that even the world would collapse before the finger. She had seen her teacher, Lu Yanfei, use spells, but she clearly understood that not even her teacher could produce something this powerful. She feared that even her teacher would be defeated and die under that finger. She had even seen the ancestor that had already died use spells before, and even for the ancestor, it would have been difficult to produce this kind of power. The white-haired man's casual movement shocked her mind greatly. The white-haired man seemed to look back at Shu Yun and then disappeared from her mind. The only thing that remained was the white hair that was clearly imprinted in her mind. The ape was refined by the flames in her mind and turned into a strange soul force. When the soul force rushed into Shu Yun's origin soul, she could no longer think about the white hair. As she absorbed the soul force, Shu Yun gradually entered a strange state similar to the Shu realm. Under this strange state, comprehension of Tao and the heavens came from the mysterious soul force into her origin soul. This ape was no ordinary beast, but a spirit beast unique to the Cloud Sea. These spirit beasts also cultivated Tao and comprehended the heavens just like humans. With its natural longevity, it had an advantage over cultivators in gaining enlightenment. This ape had already lived for more than 3,000 years. After taking its soul, alchemy techniques were fused to create this soul-parting death pill. After an unknown amount of time, Shu Yun slowly opened her eyes, and her eyes started shining. The aura of a corporeal young cultivator appeared around her body. Although she hadn't truly reached the corporeal young stage, the door had been opened. She only needed time to comprehend everything and then she would be a true corporeal young cultivator. Shu Yun suddenly looked behind her, but she didn't see anyone here. She was alone in the room, but she couldn't forget that white-haired figure and that graceful finger. After silently pondering for a bit, Shu Yun's expression became bleak. She stared ahead and the white-haired figure remained in her mind. She had a feeling not as a cultivator, but as a woman that she seemed to have seen this figure before. Was it an illusion? White hair. White hair. Shu Yun's eyes gradually lit up. She remembered what her teacher had told her about the ancestor's last words after using the Great Beneficent Spirit spell. The North. White hair. Shu Yun's bountiful chest went up and down and her breathing became rough. She immediately rushed out from her house and flew toward her teacher. Wang Lin stood by the window and saw the ray of light disappear into the night. There was enlightenment in her heart. I didn't think that such a pill would exist in the Cloud Seal. That means that the more powerful the spirit beast, the more useful it is in helping the soul gain enlightenment. This is very different from all heaven and the Alliance. While pondering, Wang Lin suddenly remembered the beast soul Moji's master had refined and given to him as a gift when he was at the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect. At this moment, in the rank 5 region not far away from the continent of Mo Luo, there was a beast with the body like a black tadpole that was 1,000 feet wide. It was slowly flying through the star fog. This beast's giant head occupied most of its body, more than half. It opened its big mouth as if it was devouring the fog as it flew, revealing its sharp teeth. It was filled with bloodlust as its slender tail waved back and forth. There were 2 people standing on its head. One of them was a young man in a purple robe. He was very handsome, but there was also a hint of evil on his face that made him look very tyrannical. Behind the youth was an old man. He calmly stood there with a respectful expression, but when he looked at the youth, there was a hint of doting in his eyes. Not only do I want Liu Yanfei to become my concubine cultivation furnace, but I'm going to make the Origin Sect my inner palace. Uncle Song, how confident are you? If that old Daoist hadn't died, I would have no confidence, but now I'm 100% sure. There was a flash of coldness in the old man's eyes. The young man laughed and licked his lips. He seemed to have thought of something and revealed an evil expression. The rainy season lasted for several months, seeming like it would never stop. The intermittent raindrops pressed down upon the minds of the Origin Sect disciples, and they were powerless to dispel it. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had already been at the Origin Sect for 10 days. Shu Yun had already returned from her teacher, and during this time, she secretly investigated the 31 mortals brought back from the north. She had observed Wang Lin as well, but she didn't notice anything. Even her teacher, Liu Yanfei, took this matter seriously. She even used spells to try to find some clues, but there was still no result. The white-haired figure didn't dissipate with time, but became even more profound. She would awaken from her cultivation at night, and the white-haired figure and that graceful finger would subconsciously appear in her mind. Who is he exactly? This question still plagued Shu Yun. On this afternoon, Shu Yun pushed over the door and a few drops of rains landed on her face. She frowned as she lifted her jade-like hand and wiped the rain off her face. Her appearance was refreshing with a hint of charm as she walked out. The raindrops seemed to land on an invisible cover when they came within half a feet of her and flowed down the sides. Walking through the courtyard, Shu Yun looked at the various herbs before looking at Wang Lin's house. The first one she suspected was Wang Lin. However, during these days, this youth named Seng Neo was like a real mortal, aside from his composure and calmness. She wasn't able to think of a reason why, but she subconsciously walked toward Wang Lin's house and stood outside for a while. She raised her eyebrows and pushed open the door. I let you stay here to take care of the herbs. During these days, have you done it once? Shu Yun stared at Wang Lin, who was reading a wooden scroll next to the small table. For some reason, whenever she saw Wang Lin, she found it hard to control her emotions and didn't have the calmness an illusory yin cultivator should have. Wang Lin placed down the wooden scroll he had gotten from the Origin Sect. There wasn't any valuable information inside, and it was something all new disciples could borrow. It contained the history of the continent of Mo Luo and a simple introduction of the Cloud Sea. These wooden scrolls were to allow the new disciples to get a better understanding of the Cloud Sea. This allowed them to see that there was always someone above them, so they would put more effort into cultivation. While reading the wooden scroll, Wang Lin wasn't completely focused. He was also thinking about alchemy and spirit beasts. He calmly looked at Shu Yun. Wang Lin just sat there and calmly asked, "Did a single herb die?" Shu Yun was startled. The herbs were much more lush than before. Even some of the roots she had given up on had all strangely survived. Wang Lin no longer spoke. He picked up the scroll and continued reading. The more calm he was, the more Shu Yun frowned. The moment she walked in, a fragrance diffused within the small room. Wang Lin was familiar with this smell. When Shu Yun was cultivating before, Wang Lin had already smelled this body fragrance. Shu Yun stared at Wang Lin and coldly said, "The herbs not dying has nothing to do with you. It is because there is plenty of spiritual energy here, and their herbs are mostly water element, so they can absorb origin energy from the rain." Oh. Wang Lin casually nodded and didn't even look at Shu Yun. He continued to read the wooden scroll in his hand. Seng Nyo. Seeing Wang Lin's attitude, Shu Yun glared with her beautiful eyes. Wang Lin frowned as he put down the wooden scroll again and coldly looked at Shu Yun. Shu Yun was filled with words and was about to scold him, but when she suddenly met Wang Lin's eyes, she subconsciously swallowed her words. She was startled. My job is to keep the herbs from dying. If nothing has happened, please don't bother me, Wang Lin said calmly. Then he looked away from Shu Yun and picked up the scroll. Shu Yun's heart trembled for no reason under Wang Lin's gaze. Is it him? Shu Yun pondered for a moment and took a profound look at Wang Lin. She then bit her lower lip and left the room. Late in the night, the oil lamp on the table was lit. It was dark outside, with only the sound of the rain mixed with the sound of the thunder that followed the rain. The wind from the mountain blew into the basin, forming vortexes that howled in the night. Wang Lin put down the scroll before closing his eyes and pondering for a moment. He was able to see through many things from the scroll and had gained a vague understanding of the Cloud Sea. More importantly, during the last 4 days, he was able to gain enlightenment regarding alchemy from a jade he had acquired. He opened his eyes and raised his head. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the house, break through the rain, and look at the sky directly above the basin. There was a Daoist temple being propped up by 8 huge pillars there. Wang Lin could clearly sense a powerful aura within that Daoist temple. His body flickered and he disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, he was on top of one of the pillars and right outside the Daoist temple. The wind and rain were extremely strong here, and there were also flashes of thunder and lightning. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he pushed open the door of the Daoist temple and walked inside. This Daoist temple wasn't big. Aside from the decorations, the most conspicuous thing was the giant spatial crack at the center with purple light leaking out, coloring the entire temple purple. Behind the crack was a shelf. There were fluctuations of restrictions coming from the shelf, and there were 3 things placed on it. There was a long sword, a piece of jade, and a pill. The moment Wang Lin entered the Daoist temple, the purple light from the spatial crack became stronger. A huge python head came out from the crack and stared at Wang Lin. This python was blackish purple and its eyes were also a rich purple. Usually, anyone who was being stared by this pair of eyes would be shaken, but it had no effect on Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even look at the python and walked past it. The python let out a low roar, but fear appeared in its eyes. It began to retreat, allowing Wang Lin to walk past it, and didn't dare to attack. In truth, Wang Lin had come here 4 days ago. In terms of cultivation, this purple python could battle late-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivators, but Wang Lin could easily kill it. He didn't even cause much of a fuss and almost killed the purple python. However, he was going to stay here for a period of time and couldn't seem to justify killing their sect's guardian beast the moment he arrived, so he left the purple python alive. Wang Lin arrived next to the shelf and with a wave of his sleeve all the restrictions dissipated. Wang Lin picked up the jade and began observing it. He had already seen it 4 days ago, but he wasn't interested in their spells or cultivation methods. However, he did pay attention to the information about spirit beasts and alchemy. After taking another look, Wang Lin pondered. He then put down the jade and picked up the pill. This pill looked very inconspicuous. When he looked at it 4 days ago, he wasn't able to find anything interesting. After pondering about the information on alchemy he saw in the jade 4 days ago, he came this time to check the pill. According to the jade, there was a total of 13 ranks of spirit beasts. The souls of these beasts could be refined into pills that were also divided into 13 ranks. This was a pill that was passed down for generations within the origin sect. It was a rank 8 pill, but unfortunately, it was a rank 8 pill without a rank 8 beast soul, so it was a waste. There was a hint of pity in Wang Lin's eyes. After studying the jade for these days, he gradually grasped some key concepts of the Cloud Sea's alchemy. He had come here to the temple today to check if his speculation was correct. Seeing the pill in his hand, he was certain. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin put down the pill. He didn't take any of these 3 things that were obviously inheritances left by the old ancestor. Unless he had a feud with them, given Wang Lin's cultivation level, he wasn't going to do something that would ruin a sect. It was enough for him to just look at it. Now I need to personally refine a pill using this method. My goal in the Cloud Sea is to do everything I can to improve my cultivation. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly raised his head, and his eyes revealed a strange light. There were flashes of lightning in the sky above the western part of the continent. There were muffled rumbles as if someone was bombarding it from the outside. This continent was floating in the Cloud Sea. There was a black tower on the continent that released a soft, white light that covered the entire continent. Aside from pushing the fog back, it also had a defensive role. It protected the continent against cultivators of other sects, but more importantly, it protected the continent against the myriad of fierce beasts. In the Cloud Sea, beasts were divided into 2 categories. The ones that were domesticated by cultivators were called spirit beasts. Those that drifted in the fog and would fight with cultivators to the death were called fierce beasts. At this moment, the light over the western part of the continent continued to distort and then suddenly collapsed with a bang. The thunderous rumble suppressed all thunder and rain as it echoed across the entire continent. It clearly entered the origin sect. A spirit beast that was completely black and about 1,000 feet wide with the shape of a tadpole slowly entered the broken barrier. It went through all the lightning and squeezed itself into the continent of Mo Luo. If it was just this spirit beast, it wouldn't be enough to break the barrier above the continent. However, on the back of the beast was an arrogant-looking old man. He slowly withdrew his right hand, which was surrounded by purple wind. An arrogant laugh echoed. Aside from the old man, there was also a youth in purple. His laughter echoed across the world and was filled with excitement and arrogance. Henceforth, this origin sect will belong to this young lord. The thunderous rumble echoed as the giant black beast entered the continent of Mo Luo. The old man standing on the head of the giant beast looked dotingly at the youth and smiled. As the youth laughed, the black spirit beast below him charged at an unimaginable speed toward the origin sect on the east side of the continent. The Purple Dao's young master has arrived. Why hasn't the origin sect come out to greet him? An old and gloomy voice echoed, following the thunderous roar of the beast. The only sect on the continent, the origin sect, heard this loud and clear. The old man knew that the young master liked to act domineering in public. Normally, the old man wouldn't act like this, but right now, the fate of the origin sect was in his hands. Therefore, he accompanied the young master in being arrogant. The old man waved his hand and a gust of purple wind swept forward. All the rain that was falling was pushed back. It was as if the rain had to stop wherever the gust of wind passed. Even the lightning was torn apart by the gust of wind. The lightning scattered like a blooming flower. At this moment, all the disciples in the origin sect awakened from their cultivation. Their faces were all pale as they felt a powerful pressure from the west that felt like it could crush them at any time. At the top of the eastern mountain in the origin sect, the middle-aged man among the four elders had a bitter expression. He silently closed his eyes, but then he fiercely opened them. He turned into a ray of light and flew west. Teacher just left the world and the Purple Dao sect is already acting so arrogant. I keep enduring it, but why not just let me, Li Xiangdong, be arrogant for once? Even if I die, I'll die an indomitable spirit. There was a sigh from the north and west mountain peaks. The two old men flew out and looked at each other before flying to the west. Right now was the moment of fate for the origin sect, and they couldn't endure anymore. However, even if they couldn't endure it, what could they do? Did they dare to kill the Purple Dao sect's young master? Also, the power contained within that old man's words was enough to shake their hearts. Song Wuda. He lost a teacher in the past. Now that teacher is dead, he came personally. Could it be that my origin sect is really fated to fall from grace for eternity? On top of the southern mountain, Lu Yinfei stood in the red pavilion in a red dress. Her face was filled with sadness and killing intent. She didn't hesitate to rush out in a ray of red light toward the west. Rudy, even if I, Lu Yinfei, die, I'll not yield to you. Lu Yinfei bit her lower lip as she flew. Tears fell from the sides of her cheek and mixed with the rain. It was impossible to distinguish her tears from the rain. Behind the four great elders of the origin sect were their direct disciples. They flew toward the west filled with panic, determination, or anger. Shu Yun was among them. Her face showed that she had the determination to die. However, for some unknown reason, while she flew, two figures appeared in her mind. One figure had black hair and was very thin but always as calm as water. The other figure had white hair, and with the wave of his finger, the world would collapse. These two figures filled her mind until they eventually overlapped. Wang Lin stood inside the Daoist temple and looked at the rays of light disappearing before him. He shook his head and unhurriedly thought about where he would go after the origin sect was destroyed. In the end, he frowned and muttered, "It's really troublesome." He waved his sleeves and stepped forward. Ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared from the Daoist temple. The purple python that had been laying low since Wang Lin had appeared and was still filled with fear charged out. It let out roar toward where Wang Lin went. It was as if it knew that Wang Lin had left and wouldn't come back for a long time, so it dared to let out a roar. The night of the continent of Mo Luo was about to end and the sun was beginning to rise. At this moment, the purple wind flew across the sky and the black spirit beast followed. The old man looked very arrogant and calm. He was confident he could easily deal with the Origin Sect. The youth in purple beside him revealed an excited look and began shouting obscenely. "Uncle Song, heavily injure Lu Yanfei, but don't kill her. Let me play with her for a few days and suck her origin energy dry, then it won't be too late to kill her." The youth in purple licked his lips. The old man beside him nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he was suddenly startled and stared straight ahead. He saw ripples appeared in the void before him and powerful origin energy fluctuations began to spread. A man with white hair walked out from the ripples. The white-haired man had a cold expression, and the moment he appeared, a monstrous killing intent filled the world. The black spirit beast immediately stopped and the old man's expression changed. The youth in purple frowned and was about to shout when the old man stood before him. The old man stared at Wang Lin with a serious expression and said, "I'm the Purple Dao Sect Song Wudo. Can fellow cultivator give me some face and let me pass?" Hearing the old man's words, the youth in purple was startled and carefully examined Wang Lin. "I'll give you some face, so immediately get the hell out of here and never come back." Wang Lin's cold voice stabbed at the old man like the cold wind. The old man's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was weaker than the Origin Sect's ancestor, he was still a mid-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator. He couldn't really see through the other party's cultivation, so he was polite, but he didn't think the other party would be so arrogant. What an arrogant tone. Even when the ancestor of the Origin Sect faced our Purple Dao Sect, he had to. Before the old man could finish speaking, the youth in purple behind him laughed. Wang Lin no longer spoke and coldness flashed through his eyes. As he stepped forward, he raised his right hand and strands of slaughter energy rushed out of his body. At this moment, a monstrous killing intent appeared. The dense slaughter energy caused a large amount of cold energy to appear. The surrounding raindrops all turned into ice crystals. The 1,000-foot spirit beast immediately began to tremble. It was very smart and immediately noticed the danger of this slaughter energy. Feeling the danger, it immediately began to retreat without the youth in purple's order. The purple youth's face turned pale, but he still shouted, "You." However, this time, before he could finish speaking, the old man immediately slapped the youth and sent him flying to the black spirit beast. He then waved his sleeves and rapidly retreated with the black spirit beast. "Leave quickly. I'll meet up with you after I kill this person." The old man's expression became serious. After sending the spirit beast away, he rushed toward Wang Lin. The youth in purple rarely saw the old man this serious, so panic appeared in his heart. He quickly retreated with the black spirit beast. Wang Lin waved his right hand and all the slaughter energy around him became crazy. Each strand released a roaring howl as they charged at the old man. The old man's pupils immediately shrank. His hands formed seals and purple wind appeared and collided with the slaughter energy. The thunderous rumble echoed far and wide. "Summon the rain." Wang Lin lifted his left hand and pointed at the sky. At this moment, all the rain within 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet trembled. As Wang Lin pointed, every raindrop trembled and origin energy surrounded them, then the raindrops shot at the old man. The old man's heart was in so much shock that it was impossible to describe with words. He had never seen the two spells the youth in white had used, but the power of these spells made him gasp. He was about to dodge when Wang Lin's cold gaze locked onto him, and Wang Lin calmly said one word. "Stop." The old man's body trembled and he stopped in the air. At this instant, the surrounding countless ice crystals gathered around the old man. A moment later, a giant ice crystal appeared in the air. Wang Lin didn't stop. His right hand reached out and the crack to his storage space appeared. A rusty, iron sword immediately appeared in Wang Lin's hand. He walked forward with the sword, raised it, and mercilessly slashed down. The world was still bright right now, but the moment the sword fell, the entire world was enveloped in an extremely bright flash. There was a heaven-shaking rumble and the ice crystal shattered into pieces of bloody fragments. The old man's eyes were still filled with shock and disbelief as his body fragmented. Even his origin soul shattered under the impact and exploded in a shockwave of origin energy. All of this happened in a few breaths of time. Instant kill. Even until death, the old man still couldn't believe that he was killed in such a short period of time. However, his death wasn't unreasonable. Whether it was the slaughter energy or summon the rain, these spells were powerful enough to shock anyone in the cultivation world. In addition, the attack from the pseudo-nirvana void treasure was enough to make a peak nirvana cleanser cultivator lose a layer of skin if they didn't die instantly. Without even mentioning Wang Lin's combat experience, Song Wudu hadn't died to a nobody. After instantly killing Song Wudu, Wang Lin turned to look at the black spirit beast that hadn't gone too far yet. The purple youth that witnessed all of this screamed in fear. Wang Lin coldly looked at the youth in purple and stepped forward. Rays of light arrived behind Wang Lin. The scream filled with extreme fear clearly entered the ears of the Origin Sect's four elders and echoed inside Li Yanfei's mind. At this instant, the sky cleared and the rain dissipated. A vague rainbow appeared across the sky. The figure chased after the black spirit beast. His white hair was so dazzling that the figure was deeply imprinted in Li Yanfei's eyes. This video will end here.